Hello, Hamilton. Today is Monday, April 6th, and thank you for tuning in to read another story with me. I'm so glad that you're checking back to our Cougar Vision page so that you can hear another story and practice another literacy activity. I'm also excited because today is the first day of our distance learning, and I know that so many of you are going to be doing the work on the app Seesaw. Your teachers posted all of the activities for the entire week, so don't be overwhelmed if you see all of them. Try and find your teacher's checklist, and then I want you to read the checklist for Monday. All you need to do today are the activities for Monday. If you want to work ahead, you can, that's fine, but just try and get those activities for Monday done. Your teachers are so proud of you for working so hard on it and for trying your best at learning, even though we're not at school. It's really different. And I get that it's probably a little bit more challenging to work without the teacher there to help you, but no, we're still here to support you as best as we can. You can send your teacher an email, your parents can send them a dojo message, check Seesaw for more of their directions, and know that we're so proud of all of the hard work you're doing. So, the stories I'm posting on our Cougar Vision channel are not required. You don't have to do those. But I'm posting them in case you finish all of your work and you'd like an extra challenge to do. So you can still hear a story every day and do the fun literacy activity. If you feel like you've worked really hard but you still want to come and just listen to the story part, that's okay too. I hope you're tuning in to check out these stories. Today, we are going to be reading a really great book called A Bad Case of Stripes. And this is written by David Shannon. While I'm reading the story, I want you thinking about cause and effect. Now, effect is something that happens in a story. The cause is what makes the effect happen. So, for example, an effect could be, I skinned my knee. What caused me to skin my knee? The rock I tripped over. Cause and effect, they're kind of linked together. This story is filled with causes and effects, and I want you really thinking about that as we're reading. I'll ask some questions as we go throughout the book. And for our literacy challenge, we're going to be working on those causes and effects, okay? So let's see if we can get started with A Bad Case of Stripes. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Have you ever felt like that too, where you just get really worried about what other people think about you? I know I felt like that before. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits. But none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. So she's really worried about impressing other people and trying to make sure she looks good for school. Her mother ran into her room and she screamed, too. Oh, my heavens, she cried. You're completely covered with stripes. This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. Do you feel all right? She asked. I feel fine, Camilla answered. But just look at me. You get back in bed this instant, her mother ordered. You're not going to school today. Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. Most extraordinary, he exclaimed. I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching? No, Camilla told him. I feel fine. Well then, Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me. And off he went. Look, even her tongue has stripes. So the effect was that Camilla has to go to school. What caused her to have to go to school? Think about that. What did the doctor say that caused her to have to go? Doctor said there's nothing wrong with you, so you have to go. The next day was a total disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything was normal, But when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. Oh my goodness, look at her. Her stripes turned to make her look like the flag. That's the effect. Think, what caused that to happen? What were the kids doing that caused her stripes to change? The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon, everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. Think, what's causing her to change how she looks over and over? That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction. And I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes may be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room as her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialists. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialists went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Grop. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. Oh, poor Camilla. So they all couldn't really find out what was wrong with her. That was the cause. What was the effect? What did they decide to have her try to make herself feel better? Think about that. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different, but when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. She turned into a pill. What do you think caused that to happen? What did she do that caused her to change to look like a pill? By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house, telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. So the effect is all of these news reporters are outside of her house. Why are they there? What caused them to all come to her house? This book is filled with cause and effect. Oh my goodness. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies, from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. Oh my goodness, poor Camilla. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said. "Breathe deeply and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. Oh my goodness. The therapist said, become one with your room. That was the cause. What was the effect when she did that? Picture kind of illustrates that. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." I think they'll take help from anyone at this point. She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have here is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said, "these might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans." "I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping plate full of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." Was that true? Did she really hate lima beans? What would cause her to make something like that up? "Oh dear," the old woman said sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good. And being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she's been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. So the effect was that Camilla was back to normal. What caused her to do that? Why do you think that caused her to do it? What was she doing differently when she said, "I like lima beans"? She did something different than she did at the beginning, and she was so worried about what everyone else was thinking. All right, almost done. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of the stripes again. Oh, thank you so much for reading that story with me. It's such a fun one. Your literacy challenge today is to try and write down 3 different causes and effects that you can think of from that book. So write the cause and write the effect and try and link them together. Then see if you can do that a second time and a third time as well. If you are up for more of a challenge, try and write more of those out. If you're in an older grade and you want to try writing a couple of paragraphs about how Camilla, in A Bad Case of the Stripes, was filled with cause and effect, and that illustrated all sorts of different things the author was trying to teach you, that would be an awesome challenge to take. All right, Hamilton, thank you again so much for tuning in. There's going to be a new story tomorrow. I hope that you tune back in, and I'm really, really proud of you for working so hard and doing your work. Know that your teachers are here to support you, we're here to help you, and we care about you and your learning so much. So, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck, Hamilton. Bye.